Hello, everyone, and welcome to Journey to Success Radio, a show featuring people and companies who are making a positive contribution to the world. This show will help you learn how to apply success principles in every area of your life so that you can make the most out of your skills and talents and accomplish more of your goals. To find out more about the show, please visit www.journeytosuccessradio.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Journey to Success Radio. My name is Tom Cunningham. I'm a Napoleon Hill Foundation certified instructor and resiliency expert, helping people to think, speak, and act positively through the many and varied challenges of life. We have a really cool and exciting show today. I've invited the hosts, several of the hosts of Journey to Success Radio, to participate in an interesting panel discussion where we're going to be asking each other interesting questions that may help you with some of the challenges and opportunities in your life. And so let's start off. Peter Goral is one of our hosts. Peter, introduce yourself and then pass it off to someone else on the call.
All right, thanks, Tom. I appreciate being part of this group session. My name's Peter Goral. I'm Vice President of Business Development and Client Relations at a company called TechBlocks in Toronto, Canada. I'm also a mentor with Futurepreneur Canada. And as you've probably noticed if you've followed me on social media, I am a huge proponent of Twitter and an artist. So I think I still have some time to do the odd thing. So if you have any ideas about what I should be doing next, Tom, by all means.
Well, I know you're going to be making 2 book covers for a book that some of our hosts are having coming out, and another one from the Napoleon Hill Foundation Instructor.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, no,
so,
looking forward to that.
Timmer, how about yourself? The amazing Tim Chhim, one of my heroes, mentors, and a co-author of the upcoming book I'm writing with him and Taylor Tagg, and that Peter's going to be also doing the cover image for us. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you very much, Tom. My name is Timothy Chhim, and I am the only survivor here among the 4 of us from the Khmer Rouge regime that killed nearly 2 million people in the mid-'70s. And I'm currently here in Nanuet, New York, owning my own agency, Allstate Insurance Agency, since 1987. So if you guys know anybody that wants to buy insurance in New York or even financial products in New York, you can contact me here at 845-624-2500. Tom?
Amazing. And now, the amazing Taylor Tagg, also a co-author of the upcoming book with Tim and myself, and just an amazing guy. Well, welcome, Taylor, and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Tom, for asking me to be on the program. I'm Taylor Tagg, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm an inner success coach. I focus on helping people with emotional intelligence and forgiveness. I've written 2 books, about to be 3 with you guys. One has become an Amazon best-selling book, and I also speak and also work at a community college here, helping people really up-level their lives. So I really have just a tremendous respect for you guys. I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic. Why don't you give us your website, Taylor?
TheEvolvingHeart.com.
TheEvolvingHeart.com. Well worth the visit. I go there regularly, and great website. Well, guys, we have an exciting show, interesting format we have. And so, Tim, why don't you start with a question for Taylor?
Well, Taylor, you just mentioned a book or 2 books, but one of which I am very happy to read, and I have read that book several times now, and the amazing Amazon bestseller book called The Path to a Peaceful Heart. What is this book all about, Taylor, and how is it related to Dr. Hill's principles of success? And would you please share it with us and with the audience?
Yeah, sure. Love to, Tom. Tim, thank you for that. Path to a Peaceful Heart is really a book about rewriting your story. We've all got stories that we tell. We've all got stories that we've lived. And we don't necessarily have the opportunity to change that story, we don't think, or to rewrite it, so to speak, to make it what we want it to be. And the Path to a Peaceful Heart is really about rewriting the story, make it what you want it to be. It's not what happens to us, it's what happens for us so we can become the person that we can be. And kind of as I walk through the path itself, I found that there were several things that happened in my life that allowed me to keep moving forward. And one was just being able to witness my life as it was, get out of the drama, so to speak, of all the mental and verbal abuse that I experienced as a child, and just really be able to look at it from an outsider's perspective. And then as I was able to continue to walk through that path, I realized that this story did not have to end up in a tragic way. So many of our stories end up just in the pits, at the bottom. There just seems to be no way out. And I discovered a way to change the path of my story. And Dr. Napoleon Hill was one of those people that helped me change the path of my story in an instant. And all of us on this call here are very familiar with the principle of adversity and defeat. All of our disappointments can be changed, can be turned around, and there's always this seed of equivalent benefit. And when I heard him say that, something changed in me instantly. I knew that I could rewrite my story, and I didn't quite know how that was going to happen. I just knew that it could happen, and I continued to walk that path. And as I kept on down that path, I ultimately found forgiveness for the people that were involved and learned how to forgive myself for holding on and taking responsibility as a child for trying to fix all of it. And once that happened, that peace came in, that peace that surpasses all understanding. And it was always there. I just was able to uncover it within myself. And when I did, it was an amazing, amazing experience. So that's the story. It's how to rewrite the story of your life to make it the way that you want it to be ultimately.
Powerful. And we all have those people in our lives that we need to find peace and forgiveness with, or they're going to haunt us, even if they're not with us for the rest of our lives, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Powerful. Now, Taylor, I know you have a question for Tim, I believe.
No, it's actually for you, Tom. My question is for you. I'm putting you on the spot here. And we
I didn't even study.
We know that you've gone through a tremendous amount of physical pain in your life, been able to come through that in a brilliant way, very positive way, positive attitude. So what are your top 2 tips for moving through intense physical pain? What can you share with the audience about how you do that in your life?
Right. I got 2 great ones. The number one I think of is that most of my pain, arthritis pain, comes and goes. So you might be extremely pain, might have a lot of pain throughout my body for a couple weeks, or in one specific joint, horrible pain for a few weeks, but then it comes and goes. So as long as I know that it's going to go soon, within a few weeks, I am strong enough to survive anything for a short period of time. Same when I go for surgeries. I've had 4 hips replaced, 4 knees, and 2 shoulders, and when I'm going in for surgery, I know, okay, for the next 6 weeks, it is going to be miserable, but I can survive anything for 6 weeks. And so that's how I just look at it. It's like a countdown. It's like, okay, 6 weeks. Prepare yourself mentally and physically to be in pain and still remain positive for the next 6 weeks, and then life will look better after that. And the other one is take a global perspective on pain. I live in Canada, and in Canada, I could go to a doctor in 30 minutes from now and not pay 1 penny. And this is our government healthcare system in Canada. And so think of people who have arthritis around the world. Tim, you're from Cambodia. Imagine if someone had rheumatoid arthritis in Cambodia. Yeah. I don't think they're getting free doctors, free hospital visits, free surgeries, all the free things that in Canada many people take for granted. I don't take for granted. I must owe the government a ton of money because I've been in the hospital like 40 times, and so I happily pay my taxes every year. But at the same time, I remember that, okay, I'm in pain and feeling miserable, but I'm in Canada where medications, the cost of medications are regulated and low, doctors and hospitals are free, and there are many people in the world who don't have those benefits, and I'm no nicer than them to be in Canada with this great healthcare system than someone in Cambodia who might see a doctor every 3 months and might have nothing to do or know nothing about arthritis. So those two things, knowing that I can survive miserable pain for a length of time that I know is going to end, and then just having a global perspective on my problem compared to people with a similar problem in third world countries who I am no nicer than, and yet I get to suffer in Canada and they suffer in their own country. Those two things really, really, really help me. Doesn't help the pain, but it does help my positive attitude through the pain.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Tom, don't even talk about things that happens in Cambodia. They don't have any facility like that for free or even for not free. It's very difficult over there. I want to follow up, if you may, Tom. I know that you live with and in pain. And how do you go about your daily life? Like moving, going shopping, driving, and up and down the stairs and stuff like that. Can you describe the activities that you do every day?
Right, I live a very full life. I have a full-time job. I go to the gym often. I'm on a little respite now because I'm under attack from my arthritis. Every second of every day, I know I'm in pain. There's no like, oh, right, yeah, I'm in pain today. I never have to ask myself, geez, are you painful? Every second of every day. But I have enough amazing, positive people in my life and things that I'm doing that just takes all of my focus. And so I prefer to keep busy. People often have said to me, Tom, you can go on disability, you can sit at home, maybe do some cash jobs under the table. No, I want to be around people. I'd rather be distracted by the cool, fun, positive people and things I'm doing than sit at home where all I'm going to be focusing on is, man, I'm in a ton of pain. And so just keeping busy and getting out and getting distracted. It's kind of what the Arthritis Society teaches and what I teach in their classes is just get distracted enough with life that your sole focus is not on, holy crap, I'm in a lot of pain. And it also is good for your stiffness and mobility because the thing with arthritis is people endure a lot of pain and then they decide to stay at home and not move their body very much. Now you've lost the mobility in the joints that you're resting because you decided not to do nothing. So there's really no trick to it other than you need to keep those 60,000 thoughts focused more on the positive things you're doing in life than on the enormous pain you might be feeling in one or several joints of the body. It takes a lot of practice, and I'm not always the best at it, and in my public life I'm better at doing it. When I go home, my wife Chhim often sees the more tired from fighting pain, is a little bit less positive or somewhat more grumpy. But let's say to the outside world, I do my very, very, very best to maintain my positive outlook and approach to life because I know it encourages other people, and so it kind of puts a responsibility on me to manage it properly so I can encourage other people. And so, yeah, that's kind of the main things I do to control this second by second pain that I've had for 46 years? Good question there, Tim. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I
Now,
was at your home. And I noticed that you even have that escalators between the first floor and the second floor. And I've seen you have that strange, instrument that you put your socks and pants on and shirts and all that. How the heck did you have patients doing all of that things? Like, say, what happened if you got to go to the bathroom? Then how are you going to go from the second floor to the first floor in a half a minute or something,
Right, and even all those dressing devices, it takes me like 5 times as long to get dressed as you do. Just to put pants on in 2 minutes, socks on, and my wife does them now, and it's nice when it can do them. But I have a device to put socks on, and a device to pull pants up. And sometimes I can't do buttons on the shirt, so I find the nearest attractive woman that can do that for me. Sometimes it's my wife, whoever I can encounter first time when I'm out on the street. I was at a hotel one time. I went to speak in California. I forgot my sock device, and I was like, wow, what am I going to do? So I went to the front desk, and I asked them, how good is your customer service at this hotel? And they gave me a 5-minute thing on how great it was. I was like, okay, then you get to put my socks on for 3 days while I'm here. And so, it is interesting. If you follow me for a few days, you'd see all the alterations to my life I have to make that you wouldn't even expect sometimes. Even in my car, for instance, I have a nice sports car, doesn't have power seats, and I can't reach underneath the seat to pull the seat forward, so I attach a belt to the bar underneath the seat, and I just pull on the belt to move my seat forward and backwards. So power seating for the cost of $20, that's way better than the dealership will offer you, but that's how I get around having power seats in a car that doesn't have power seats. I make my own. So good question. Now, Peter, you've been sitting here on the sidelines here, so I know Jim's story, and I know Taylor's story, and our book is about overcoming adversity and pain, but I know you've had 5 kids, a few wives, and a few challenges in your life. So when you encounter the negatives of life, upsetting things in life that can come with having 5 kids and then being married a few times, what is it that goes through your mind, or what actions do you take to refocus yourself onto the positive of life? I know your art is an amazing outlet for you, but are there specific things you think of or focus on and that you do to refocus, readjust your thinking and to the more positive side?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think much like Taylor talked about earlier, I think these are things that you acquire. It's kind of almost like a rather than a resistance, but you find a way to overcome things. If I date myself back, I can recall even now they're not troublesome by any stretch of the imagination if I compare my story to Tim's, but the reality was as a child, I found out that my father was not my father; he was my stepfather, and of course he was not that much in favor of me, and of course gave me kind of a rough time. I was the eldest of 5 children, and I really took the brunt for a lot of things that went on in the house, and I used to find ways to avoid dealing with him. And I think it's amazing how bright a young person can be when they try to avoid aggravation and try to avoid pain. And I did it in unique ways. You did mention my art. I would always go to my art and disappear in it. But I recall times when the family would go out on the weekend, to the local beach. I was living in the UK, and I was living in Lancashire, and the closest great beach that was Blackpool, and they used to go out for day trips. I used to purposely stay home. I used to say, listen, I don't really want to go. I'll stay home, and when you get back, I'll have made you supper. Your dinner will be ready on the table. And in other words, I was actually selling them on a feature that both my parents were actually really dead keen on accepting, thinking, that sounds like a really neat plan. You'd do that? So I can think, even as early as 12, 13, and 14 years of age, I learned to cook. And I learned to cook out of books, and I watched television, and I learned how to make meals. I learned how to bake pies and things like that, so that I would get my own time, because they only had to experience it once, and so that I didn't have to sell them on it the second time. So as soon as I made them this perfect meal, fabulous meal, topped off with a fantastic lemon meringue pie made from scratch, this 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14, because I did it for years, just to play avoidance of that ugly parent that I grew up with, that really just wanted to probably give me a backhand quicker than talk to me. And I got my time. I spent time, and I spent that time learning something. I learned I learned a new skill. I honed my art. I learned a new skill, and it made for some great use and some great kind of mindset for me later on in life, because I find that, I think we heard somebody, I wasn't sure who it was, talked about distractions. And sometimes, you can distract yourself from pain. You can distract yourself from the crazy issues of your day to day. And that's how I did it as a youngster. And I think that I've learned to carry that through even into adult life now, because I've worked for some really crazy people in my life. I've been in such unusual environments, but I've never been afraid to be in those environments. Yeah, they've bothered me, but I think as an old friend of mine used to say, you know what? You can take my time, you can waste my time, but you can't have my soul. And you know what? I think that's where I end up. I think that's where I end up every time that I find myself in a situation that I can't manage because it's someone else's personality, or it's something unique about the environment around me that's weighing down on me and trying to hold me back from being progressive. Just as an aside, Tom, my stepfather died last year, but before he died, and I never visited him often, right? In fact, both my parents actually died almost one after another within a couple of months of each other. But my stepdad died. I went to see him about 3 days before he had passed on, and he was in a hospice. And I went to see him, and he knew what he'd done to me. I mean, let's face it, he knew why I hadn't seen him and I'd kind of been estranged from him for so many years, because he really wasn't my father, and he really did mistreat me and all those other factors. But I went to see him in the hospice. I spent a few hours with him, and I did have to go. I had to go someplace, and he stopped me. I knew he was in pain. He stopped me, and he said, "Peter, I know I've not treated you well all your life, and I just want to say how sorry I am for this and for anything, and if you can to this day forgive me, I'd feel blessed. And, somebody else might just say, get lost, hit the curb, right? But I said, you know what? I called him Dad, which is something I didn't always do. But I said, relax, lie back. There's nothing to worry about. You have nothing to be sorry for. It's everything that we went through. It's character building. You helped make me who I am anyway. So be at peace. And in all honesty, it was probably the most fabulous, kind of undoing for me, right? And that just happened last year. And I had a year from hell last year, but that happened and it cleaned up. You can tell. I mean, I'm saying it with ease. I'm saying it with resolution. I feel great. Let's face it. It was probably more of a selfish thing that he was doing by, in a sense, in settling himself. I could have turned him away, but I thought, you know what? The better person steps up and says, you know what? It's all good. Calm down. It's all good. Don't sweat it. It's way too small, right? Because think about the life itself. And it's very easy for me to look at him and go, you know what? That I never want that to be me. I never want to be in a state where I have to beg for someone's forgiveness for something that I've done wrong to them. So, because I don't do it in the first place, right? I learned that, right? And the same is from the people around me. And that's why I am the generous person that I am. That's why I work the way that I work. I affiliate myself with collaborators, with people who have meaningful things to my life. And I'm at peace with that. And and I think that's my story. And I heard Taylor's piece come through, when he talked about his evolution. It's interesting that we all have these things that are budding, that can come up and haunt us. Mine don't haunt me anymore, Tom. I'm done with them.
Right. And you haven't read Taylor's book, but Taylor's situation was very similar to yours, except it was his mother's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And he was around for a number of years, and Taylor would hide in closets. He would hide around the house. The guy broke a bunch of front doors, a bunch of furniture. I don't know if he hurt his mom. And here he is, a little kid. How can I protect my mom? How do I replace a front door on the house? And so, similar to what you went through. And boy, that could leave scars on someone if they don't deal with it mentally later on in life.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think you have to take the opportunities that you get to get past it. And I know it's easy to say, you should be strong and you should stand up. I mean, you've got to admit to yourself one thing. There's a living, breathing person. You mean something to at least one person, even if it's yourself, right? There's nothing wrong with loving yourself so much that you'll be a super person for everyone else that you meet. I know that. It's an introspective way of living, but guess what? It's the most meaning, and the people that I've met in these past years, and even some of the significant people that I've interviewed on Journey to Success Radio have all talked about that moment of revelation where they came out of an awkward moment, an awkward element, and have survived it and have learned to offer that help to someone else. I mean, every time you turn around, you must realize that everyone's got a story like this. It's kind of a segue to my question to Tim. Tim,
yes,
we all have skeletons in our closet, and they're associated with how we grew up and where we grew up. I mean, I realize it's a known fact that everything that happens around us has a way of affecting us. You can't help that. And I've learned to set that aside. That I don't know about you. I listen to your story, and I wonder, how the heck do you set aside the travesty associated with the way you grew up, with the Khmer Rouge, all that nonsense? I mean, I can't imagine coming out of that pit. It's got to have been like I'd almost want the world just to swallow me up and get me the hell out of that place. So, I mean, how did you bring yourself to that level of appreciating the peacefulness that you have today?
Well, thank you, Peter. This is an excellent question indeed. I can write a book about this. And I have to tell you and to our listeners that it has been very tough indeed to challenge the travesties around me ever since I was a young boy, a young man, as well as when I first came here to the United States, where I used to live many years in the inner city. At that time was Jersey City in New Jersey. It is not just about a skeleton in the closet, but a lot of skeletons had been in the open, Peter, in the open, everywhere, all over the places. Now, where I came from, as you know, I had faced and dealt with many travesties, as you put it, especially the travesty of justice. And I had seen only injustices nearly a half of my life back home. People killed each other over nothing because of some time of having different ideologies. People were harshly punished, jailed without any justice system. Millions had been executed. I missed that just about an hour long. And millions more had been deprived. Now, every family in Cambodia, Peter or Tom, has been affected by this. Some has lost the entire family. I'm talking about the whole family disappeared. My family, for example, was almost disappeared in just one swoop of a American bomber. Many have just one or two persons left in this world to survive alone. Now, needless to say, if you follow Cambodian atrocity, 1 in 4 Cambodians has been or have been killed. And the rest is just like you said, lived in such a way that if you don't know how to deal with this, you can go crazy. You can go cuckoo. So now your question is, how have I learned to set aside such travesties? Now, I have learned to set aside by probably, if I can think of it for now, is that maybe four things. Now, one, the first thing that I've tried to do is to understand. It's the understanding the truth of the situation, why terrible things like this happened in Cambodia. I had learned that it did happen because of our own ignorance, I should say, stupidity. We didn't know. We allowed others to control our thoughts, to think for us, and most of all, to fully control our mind, body, and even our spirit. And once I understand the truth, or most of the truth, it helped set me free. There's someone saying that, the truth can set you free.
Right.
So it set me free from the negative feelings like hatred, anger, jealousy, revenge, etc. Dr. Hill's principle mentioned that the 7 major negative feelings. Now, that's the first thing that I do. I try to understand the truth behind all the situations.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part of it is I need to learn how to transmute all of those negative feelings into positive ones by using the principles from our Dr. Hill's philosophy, the positive mental attitude, and like Tom say, or you are learning from adversity and defeat, like Tom, me, and Taylor is trying to write a book about that. And the principle of applied faith, for example, it is very difficult to erase the negative emotion, Peter, because it had been settled in my mind for many years since I was born.
Yeah.
So I have been listening to many inspirational messages, mostly by Dr. Hill. I have his tapes in the car. Every time I have a chance, I listen to it. And I read books on daily basis. I listen to the radio, not for anything, but for inspirational forms of broadcasting. I do that. I listen to them in the gym, in the shower, in a car, bedtime. And then I have to read so many self-help books, learning how to become successful in what I do. I have to admit that it is quite a challenge for me to do this because first, like Tom always said, I don't even speak English. Never mind about reading it. So English is not my native language. I'm struggling through that, and it takes me twice as much to understand those books. And secondly, the social environments do not permit me to stay clean from negative thoughts too long. In short, I have been trying to replace all my negative feelings with the positive ones. I stopped listening to sad songs, example. I have to learn how to stop complaining about the circumstances around me, about what I don't have. And I have to stop reading newspapers, and especially bad news. Stop watching televisions. I haven't watched television for I don't know how long, maybe for 20 years.
Wow.
And I stopped listening to small talks. I don't talk small talks, and I don't like people who talk small talks, talking about some other things, And that's my second idea. And the third one, I have learned to associate myself with the positive people like you guys. And now this is hard because most of the people I know, including many of my friends, knowingly or unknowingly, are still on the negative side, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And they still have a lot of anger, hatred, jealousies, and revenge, because of the war, because of the ideologies, because of the differences between political factions, and so on and so on. And I sometimes have to accept being, for the lack of better word, outcast, like being alone, meaning it's okay to have less of friends than many others. So now I limit my association. I associate myself with the different kind of groups, like hanging around with you guys, belonging to local and national good clubs, forming meaningful organizations, not-for-profit organization to help others who are in need. Tom knows about that. And also getting involved in politics to help solve some of the tough social questions or problems we are facing nowadays. And that's my third ways of forgetting about this. And then the fourth one, I think is the most important one, is that I've been writing. As bad as my English is, I just have to keep writing. Then I teach. Then I speak. I write some books. I write some articles on a blog, Facebook. And I want to dedicate much of my time to help others to become positive, self-sufficient, and to become successful. And Dr. Hills is one of my heroes. I learn a lot from his principle. I teach classes locally, one-on-one, and recently I taught classes on Skype to hundreds of students in Cambodia. I'm planning to bring Dr. Hill's principle, like science of success, and all of that into Cambodia. I hope with Dr. Judy Williamson's and Don Green's blessing, I think I could do that. Then last but not least is I go places, Peter and Tom, to give speeches. I speak at the local club. I speak at the local school. Sometimes I go to different states and countries to talk about what we are talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, back to you, Peter. This is my short answer for you.
That was a short answer. Okay.
That was a short answer. and like I said, I could write a book about this thing, but it is rather tough. When I spoke to Tom before, I was thrown into American society.
Right.
After landing from a jungle in Cambodia. Coming from Cambodia like a jungle book, now they threw me in this city that I knew nothing about, the language that I did not understand anything about, the taste of the food that I've never tasted before. It was just all in my dream at that time.
Yeah.
But when your dream come through, you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, Tim, there unfortunately, and not just for yourself, but for everyone else, and I'm sure there's members of the audience feel this way, there really is no short answer to resolving something like this. Sometimes it is a lengthy and sometimes a lifetime journey, until such time as you really get a handle on it or an opportunity to be strong around it. I mean, my own story that I just told you. I mean, we're talking about a young person in their early teens to a person now, in his 60s. Finally getting resolution from his father or his stepdad. So, that is not a short story. That is a long, painful story, right? And because regardless of me not seeing him and not being with him, I still had that haunting, nagging element, regardless of how good I was at doing things and putting it to one side. There's always going to be this subliminal thing in the back of your mind that, I'd like to resolve that today if I could. Thank you very much. And you don't until you face it. You don't until you face it, until you speak it, write it, say it, throw it out there, and share it with somebody else. Because what's the old saying? A problem shared is a problem divided, right? And if you share it often enough, it can be so meaningless. And that is a healthy way of breaking every problem that you have in life down. If you want to eliminate it, tell everybody that'll listen.
If they want to listen to, right?
Yeah, right. Even if they don't. So put it in a book and put it on television and put it out on social media. I mean, the reality is that's what we are doing more often than anything, right? I think we are, as a human race, starting to learn how to deal with our issues. If you think back to Victorian days, I mean, not that I lived then. Some will tell you I probably did, but I mean, you just hid things like that in the closet. You just kept them aside. Everything was taboo. But today, you go to Facebook and you see somebody's problem. You go to Twitter, you see somebody else's problem. You go on LinkedIn even today, and somebody's bitching and moaning about something. Right? So, we're a society of people who are better communicators, right? And I think there's still a lot of people that need to be taught that it's all right to stand up and tell somebody point blank, look, this is not on, I'm not having a good time, and I don't belong here, right? So you've got
Nice.
to face your own music, right? And there's nothing wrong with being that transparent. In fact, if nothing else, should I say, is that I think people will learn to respect you for being honest, unabridged, and always can be counted on for the truth, the God's honest truth.
Amen. Now, gentlemen, let's wrap up the show, but I have one question for both of you that intrigues me, and I imagine it might intrigue other people. Tim, you play the guitar, and Peter, you're really gifted artist. Not just painting artist, but even like Canva, creating images. Does that give you some kind of a peace of mind or body or outlet to relax? By the way, I wouldn't want to hear Chhim sing. That would be a horrible thing. But I do know he plays the guitar. Do those creative outlets help you to relax and get your mind off of things and relax your body as well? Like I can't even draw stickmen properly, and they asked me at church not even to hum along because I'm so bad.
Yeah, yeah. Keep that little guy quiet over there, right?
I want Tom to be on a drum.
That's great,
Peter. Yeah,
there. That sounds perfect. Tom, like on a serious note, absolutely. I actually get lost in my canvases, and I'm not the only one. I think most artists will probably admit that they become, for a very extroverted individual that I am in my everyday life, I become quite introverted when it comes to the art. I think the extroversion is in the outcome of the painting or whatever it is I'm doing, but it's a place it's almost like I leave this planet. That's what it feels like. It feels really strange. I almost feel like one of those software developing guys, where they hide in a room and work through the night, and you slide food under the door, and
right, wear the diaper.
But that's what it feels like, and it's so amazing because I get a chance to clear my mind of everything that ever happened to me that week, that day. It's all gone, and I always I try to remember that feeling when I'm in a state of pressure, because I always said that you owe it to yourself on a day-to-day basis not to drag the trouble that you had yesterday into today. You need to leave it. You need to leave it in the past, right? And I know that the art does that for me, but I'm utilizing some of the feelings. I'm remembering some of the just the thoughts and the feelings that I have at that moment, and I'm trying to remember them so that I can facilitate that kind of activity in me, even when I'm not at the easel painting. And that has become, I think, of late anyway, that has become something that I'm really starting to get good at. Just leaving yesterday alone, looking forward to tomorrow, and living in today.
Nice. And what about yourself?
Peter?
What about yourself, Timmer? I know you're funk at that guitar once in a while.
Oh yes, I played music ever since I was a boy. I played guitar, and lately when I was trying to preserve the Cambodian music, because the Khmer Rouge actually destroyed Cambodian music as well. Old songs and all that, they destroyed that. They play their revolutionary music all the time after that. So when I came to the United States, there was no traditional Cambodian songs left. So then we form a band. So I had a band of 6 pieces, 7 pieces band. So we go from place to play music for the people at their weddings, at their ceremonies, and all of that. And then I've learned how to play guitar and other instrument just for my own use of the at least I know the music that I don't have to listen to others' music because by hearing the sad songs and all that, I can it could depleted me and get me into that negative mood and all that. So when I played my own music, Tom, I let it fly to my own meaning, my own words, my own composition. So this way, I let it fly freely. This way, I don't have to hear that negative words. I form my own imagination as this song goes to good people, goes to my parents, goes to my sisters, goes to my friends who died. It was like you're in your own world when you do that. When you do have a few moments, then you play it. You imagine that you're with somebody. You imagine to play for them, ask for their forgiveness, and all that kind of thing. So it helped me. One of which Peter's question before, how to set aside the travesties and all.
Cool.
Wow.
I love it.
What a great outlet for negativity. Thanks so much, guys, for joining me today. And Taylor has to run. It was very nice to hear him. I think we've offered some great ideas and tips to people that are going through challenging times on how they could redirect their thinking, their emotions, and their energy and get back onto the more positive side of life. And that's valuable for anybody at any time in their life. So thank you so much, guys. Great content here. And you got me all encouraged as well. So thanks a lot.
You do too, Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Peter.
Have a good night, Tim.
All right.
Care,
good
guys.
night. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Journey to Success Radio. If you or anyone you know would like to be interviewed for the show, email Tom at tom2tall.com for details.